Okay, you're all set. You're live.
Okay, so we come out of non-public session. Let me just repeat for the record for now. Recording this meeting is 27th of October, the regular board meeting of the Waterloo Valley Select Board. And I am here, the chair, along with the vice chair, Margaret Turner, and select board member Bob Reed. So we have a quorum. I don't see any privilege of the floor, but I see we have a couple parties here to discuss item 8A, wind power test program. So why don't we just vault back to the top and discuss that so you guys don't have to hang around unless you want.
Hi, Bob.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good. This is Bob Hayden. Bob has been working with our renewable energy committee. And Linda Coleman is here representing the group today. Bob has been working on several initiatives. He's helping us with our community power preparation for town meeting. And in addition, we've been talking about renewable energy. And Bob has some information that I'd like him to share today with the select board about a potential pilot program that we could utilize here within the town complex because there is data that we need to collect as we move forward with different options for renewable energy. So with that introduction, Bob, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mark. I wish I was there in person, as I've had a day of Zooms all day long, and I would have preferred to have been on the road visiting you in your lovely community. I have the pleasure of working with Mark and the Energy Committee on developing a community power plan, which is a plan where the residents will enjoy a lower cost and have more control over their energy that's served to them. Co-op does a great job, but we do expect to do a little lower cost and maybe, as the community has indicated on surveys, a little greener. So as we look at that element, the greener piece, we've tried to look at a wide variety of renewable options. We're working with a local hydro that's in the co-op territory, the New Hampshire Electric Co-op territory, that might be able to direct funds to the community if it joins the net metering program. We've also looked at various locations for solar projects. And there aren't there isn't a huge amount of space immediately available for solar, although there might be some on the the ponds that are in the wastewater treatment area. So those might be available for solar at some point, which would accommodate the community's desire to have more renewable energy than is currently in the co-op power stack. And then lastly, we talked a little bit about wind power, which has been a largely unused renewable source for the last few years. But with your location, it's surely viable. And so I followed a path a little bit with the Department of Agriculture and the New Hampshire Forest Service about putting large-scale wind projects in, and they were rather interested, to my surprise, on forest land. But Mark and I talked about it a lot, and it's not something we could just go ahead and do. The community has to have some say, or a lot of say, in what their community power plan does and how it does it. So although everybody talks about wanting to be more renewable, there's often a feeling of not in my backyard. So we figured we ought to do a test sample of wind power in everybody's backyard. And near the transfer station, the path that goes to the transfer station includes the salt and sand shed. Is that right? The salt and sand?
And maintenance bay, yep.
And so that's a rather nicely constructed building, and we thought we could put a tiny wind project on the roof or on the crest of the front of the building. And by tiny, I mean probably standing an additional 10 feet off the top of the roof and having a diameter of the blades of about 10 feet. So each blade would be 5 feet long, have 5 blades, and it would spin around when there's wind and make enough electricity to not only power that building, but maybe a couple of other buildings in the municipal zone. But the idea is that everybody will have to go by it. Everybody will have to see it. Maybe even hear it a little bit if it's spinning fast. And we want to get the feeling or the perception of the community on projects like that before we consider talking to the federal government or even the state government about a more substantive project. I have talked to Co-op about all 3 of these renewable options, and they're very amenable. They're very interested in, supporting any of these things we look at, whether it's group net metering hydro down the road, or doing solar in the community, or even doing the micro turbine on town property. So I asked Mark what the process is for us to proceed with that, knowing that Standard Power, my company, is willing to pay for the cost of the equipment. So our intent is to pay for it as an experiment. And, at some point when we have some results, we would probably take it down and, maybe try it somewhere else for another community. But that would be our intent, is to do an alpha test of wind in the municipal area and then survey the community, maybe at the transfer station, to determine what their thoughts and opinions are so that we can take the temperature of the community for doing possibly a bigger project. So the purpose of this is to define the process that approves that and to get that approval or not.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Linda Coleman is here from the Community Power Group. And would you like to add anything to those comments?
I think Bob presented it very well. If we can look at the data of, the wind that comes. And Bob, how long would that turbine be up?
Maybe a year.
And that gives us time to process all the data for the, a year for wind and energy generation.
So Community Power is 100% behind going forward with this project.
Yes.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you do the
I
test?
can't hear very well.
Why wouldn't you do the test up on the mountain where the wind turbines eventually would go, probably not in the valley?
That's a great question. The cost of doing a test there would be onerous. Putting a cable, an appropriate cabling mechanism down the hill would cost tens of thousands of dollars, maybe 100,000. At this point, for something that would be simple in the municipal zone, doing a small project to get the opinion of the community and see what level of support there is a much better financial alternative.
But you could power buildings on top of the mountain.
You could. Absolutely, you could.
As opposed to running a line down the mountain.
Well, the goal of this project is to supplement the power to the residents.
Well, yeah, but you also want to know the feasibility of a bigger project in the future. And I would guess that when you did a bigger project, it wouldn't be down in the valley, it would be up on the mountain, assuming you get the Forest Service permit.
Well, that's a great suggestion. And if there were funding available, I'd surely be happy to, proceed on that. The new IRA bill would probably go a long way to answering those questions, but it would be making a very significant choice through the community power program. And whether it serves other entities or not, a large project is likely to serve a lot. It would be a very exciting project that as Standard Power, we would love to see occur because it hasn't been done in quite a few years in the Whites. So if that's true, and it's what the direction the community would like to go on, we would be happy to proceed looking at the process with the USDA and the New Hampshire Forest Service. So we'd be happy to do the legwork, but the cost associated up front with it would be another story. We'd have to find, somebody who's interested in being the financier and enjoying the federal tax credits. So those things are very possible, but they do take a while. So the idea is by doing a sample program with a small unit to just get the perspective of the community, we get the answer to whether we're going to have negative feedback forever with a bigger project.
Do you get more wind power by putting it on the roof of the building as opposed to mounting it beside the building?
Yeah, a little height helps.
Okay,
I guess, the issue is about procedures. So what are we looking at in terms of procedures?
Yes, sir.
Well, as he said, Standard Power would
Mhm.
do this at their cost. So it would be permission from the town to use the building to put it in.
Would this be part of the package going forward at town meeting for the community power, or would that simply be a decision of the
No, this is,
select board since it's town property?
it's town, use of town property, so this is your purview, it's not a town meeting issue.
thinking about the people who live close by,
Mhm.
how noisy is it?
Bob, how noisy is it?
To me, probably not noisy at all, but I think the perception may be different from person to person. Some people may look at it and think they hear it, but it'll be nearly silent.
Yeah, because we do have some condo owners not too far away from that building. That's why I was asking the question on their behalf.
Right, and that's the kind of feedback we absolutely want to get. If we go over to Antrim, there's some folks who say 10 miles away. They hear the vibrations from the Antrim project, even though they're 10 miles away. And again, is that really in the audible range, or is it part visual and then creative? I don't know the answer to those questions, but having the community define some of that for us and let us know whether it's a viable concept or not is really what we're going for. We're not going for a great technical win. We're going for the opportunity to get the opinion of the community. And if we get a lot of negative feedback, we'll try to continue to move on solar, which might take us a while. And then the option of the hydro facility to provide revenue might be nice, but it's not in the community. And I think there seems to be an interest in having something the community can actually point at as their project.
Do we know, Linda, whether from that condo project up there, you'd be able to see this?
I can't hear you guys.
I was asking whether from that condo project, this would be visible.
If we think about it as 10 feet off the salt shed, that 10 feet higher than the salt shell shed would answer the question.
Probably, you can see it from the tower.
Is there any measurement on decibels at all? How many
Yeah, well, the manufacturer gives a number of 0.
My only concern is that's a designated landing zone for DART. Putting a wind thing would certainly impact that area being a landing zone.
Yeah, maybe not.
Where's the landing zone now?
The parking lot.
Parking lot up top, yeah, so,
We chose that location because it's the easiest one to secure it when DART lands, because then you only have to close one entrance versus the big parking lot.
So what about putting it on the top of the existing sewage treatment center?
I was just gonna say that.
Bob, the red and white building, instead of the salt and sand shop, but the red and white building that's across the parking lot, still next to the lagoons.
Or even this building?
Or we could, no, this building, well, I think this
Still-
building would have the same.
Same issue.
with the-
Same issue with the helicopter
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah, I'm okay with most any location as long as we get a lot of visibility, people see it go into the transfer station. That would be, the building doesn't matter a lot. It's just that people are seeing it that matters.
The other thing is we could potentially put it next to or on the, we're not gonna move that building that's up at the transfer station, right?
No.
So we could potentially put it on the little gray building that's up above by the transfer station.
Does that have any load?
Yes.
Yeah, we have lights in there.
Okay, as long as there's already service there, that should be fine.
Visible enough.
Which,
Well, it'll be visible to the new transfer
that's
station.
right, which gable end on the shop are you thinking? The one on
We
this
can
side?
put it on either.
Well, I'm thinking that, what if they
What
put
if
it
we
on the
put it
opposite side?
Opposite side.
On the opposite side, it may be perfectly fine. I'm just concerned for the front side.
Yeah. So
They even asked us-
So if you put it on the north gable,
we could put it on the salt and sand shed on the north end of the building.
As long as it's visible, that's the real key. The location is less significant than the visibility. The visibility is the important characteristic.
Well, we could make the first choice, the north end of the salt and sand shed. And then the follow-up, because I think up above on the smaller building up by the transfer station, it's gonna be even more visible to more people from their condos. So while we're trying to get them to see it, it's more of like when they come in to do business.
Right.
To see it, in their comments. So at least they're not, it's not in, almost in the middle of town. I think it's gonna give that perspective if you put it up at the top.
Well, we could also put in the wigwag that,
Yeah.
that's there.
But it's a
We want people's opinion.
Well, if guard, so if we made the north end of the salt and sand shed that's first priority, the first choice, get input from guard. If they still resisted that because of the landing zone, we could then move up to the transfer station.
The one remaining question I have is related to the impact that this structure, this small test structure, will have or potentially have with wildlife. Can you address that?
I don't really have a great idea of, what impact it would have on birds. I mean, if a bird flies through it, they're in trouble. They're not attracted to these things naturally because they're moving, so they're naturally they want to fly away from it, but no guarantees. It's going to be spinning at night too.
Based on our discussion with Jenny Davis, Jenny, we just, this might be the perfect to ask the Conservation Commission what they think. Just for that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would
What do you
you
need?
conditionally be okay if the conservation commission doesn't have a problem with the two locations in that priority order? I mean, I'm trying not to bring things.
And also
to
Yeah,
the-
That's
You
not
know,
bad.
we get the input from guard first,
Okay,
and then that will tell us which locations we can use, and then I will talk to the conservation committee whether they have any preferences.
Obviously, the spec.
Yeah. so,
In principle, I'm in favor of doing it.
Right.
okay,
Yep. I
Yeah.
think that's-
all right. So Bob, we'll do it that way then. If you could send us some specifications of what it would look like so that we can get it checked with the helicopter service.
Okay,
And then, once we get clarification from them and we decide on a location, then we'll have the community power group, bring it to the Conservation Commission and talk about it.
So can I send two different pieces of information, two different sizes, one on a 1 kW and one on a 3 kW?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay,
Okay,
So what's the total height above the building roof? I know the blaze is 10 feet, but how much?
so the shaft, the main shaft would need to be 10 feet above, so a total of 15 feet would be the maximum blade height above the crest of the building.
I'll have to put it on the public works.
Too low. It's in the- it's not- You want to try to get it
Yeah,
up a
it's
little
fine.
bit.
Yeah.
Because we also, right, Bob, are collecting wind data on this as well.
Pardon me?
We're also collecting wind data to some extent.
Yes, to some extent. I mean, there is, there's weather data available that kind of gives you an idea of how things are, but if we're looking at a level, kind of low, like we would be looking, it would give us an idea of what the efficiency would be over time as compared to being up on the side of a hill where we have the national weather map.
You can
Okay.
cross it with the NOAA information off the station we've got at the
Right,
wastewater treatment.
That's right, we have a weather service, weather station at the treatment plant as well.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great data.
Cross-reference it, yeah, okay,
Does the ski area keep track of the wind daily?
they do. Yeah, and there's a lot of available wind data.
Great.
Because of the ski area. All right, well,
From the northwest is the prevailing wind up there.
Yeah, I think this is gonna require a lot of education.
Yep.
People are gonna associate this as a test for something that they see when they drive down Tenny Mountain Highway. And that's not necessarily, I think, what you guys are going for, as I understand it. With those large wind turbines that are on top of the mountains there. And is it in Plymouth or London, actually?
Dorchester.
Groton.
Groton.
Groton. So I'm sure we're gonna get comments,
oh, I.
Which is the
but
point.
That's the point of
which is
doing
the point.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's some ski areas now that have wind turbines on top of them. I'm not sure any of them are Forest Service.
Yeah.
It might be, but I'm not sure.
Linda, are you?
any comments?
Great plan.
Yeah.
Get everybody's input. That's what it's all about. Let everyone,
Yep.
All right,
All right, very good.
thank you.
And thank you, Bob, for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you for running the Zoom meeting for me. I do appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You
Yeah,
too.
thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
you.
Bob. Bye.
Okay, moving on, let's go back up to item number 4. Approval of the minutes. I saw Bob, if you were good with it, Martha. if you were okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of 24th of August? Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to financial updates.
Okay, we are 82% of the year, or 82.5% through the year. Everything is tracking pretty well. You're satisfied, Steve?
I am.
Anything,
Any questions from the board?
It looked like medical expense is we're over 15,000.
It's due to a Gopher grant. So we got $50,000 grant and we made those expenditures out of those lines, but
So in essence, when you accepted the money, you accepted it for the grant. So we could, and the auditors will, increase the medical line by 50,000. So that's the offset for what we're looking.
it's split up between a few different lines, but what we purchased on the grant will show that we were over, but it's grant related. And we did already receive the reimbursement, I believe,
Yes.
last week.
Unless you have something to alert us to, I think we're fine with the report as presented. Thank you. Okay, so let's go to department head reports. Does anybody have to get out of here? In any particular? Hurry? If
No, I
not-
know Dylan wants to.
Well, you know, we usually say Dylan for last. Dylan, you can go first.
So everything's going well, still, no issues. With the help of the highway department, just to get our rental sludge pump and all of my assembles. And that thing is operating very good. Hopefully, weather permitting, we're able to get everything resolved. Get that taken care of within a couple of weeks. It's a new piece of equipment, so there's a little bit of dialing in that we're gonna have to do with it, figure out some of the operational tendencies that it has with the volume that it pumps. But other than that, everything's going well. So
Questions? Jim?
Everything is, well, we're headed into winter, so we're starting to think about that. And getting all the equipment ready for that. We finished the trail relocation out at treatment building number 4, well, number 4 building. And so hopefully that meets with everybody's approval. We can do a little doctoring up next season if need be. I guess we'll get into the water project in another minute or two, but everything's going pretty well. We did a lot of work out at a lot of the material on trail relocation came from the in Mr. Britton's property there, where we used as a staging area. So that's been pretty well cleaned up.
That looks good. That looks very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a few more things to do, but a couple of ideas that for another discussion for next year.
In his input was he's very satisfied that his.
Right. Which was part of, for the record, part of the easement.
Part of the
The easement agreement we have with the water.
Where's the gate for the fence? Kendra? For the fence that goes around the treatment plant.
Well, I'm going to, as I told the contractor and the engineers yesterday in a bi-weekly meeting, I was going to stake out where we would prefer the fence to be. So it would be, the new entrance is going to be, down by the bridge. We'll come in that way, and then you'll come to close. When you get up near Pump House 2, there'll be a gate, and then it'll just go all the way around. And there'll be a gate on the old entrance as well,
Right,
in case we,
right.
so there'll be 2 gates. And
So the fencing isn't gonna start way down by the bridge. It's
No.
gonna be further up here.
correct,
That's what I'm
Yeah. exactly,
gonna have to plow.
exactly. That's why we put, that's why I told him I'd put the stakes in and show him where I wanted the fence.
The Jim's guys, the ones that moved the temporary fencing for temporary signs for the parking across from golf. We still have to relocate those.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jim will need to get those installed before the ground freezes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we'll probably,
I think you still have a couple of trail closed signs on the trees at either end of the map river thing. They need to come down.
yes. Thank you for reminding me. That was a while ago.
I see I see it every day when I go out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
with it.
I'll make a note to get those out of there tomorrow.
Steve?
Somewhat positive of a HR update for the treatment plant. We have a candidate who is available to work for us part-time starting in January. The hiccup is we need to try to see if we can find him some housing. So I've spoken to both the Valley Inn and the inns at Waterville Valley. And I'm just waiting for some quotes around what that kind of a scenario would look like. 3 nights a week, more than likely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or possibly Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. The candidate would come to us with the eligibility to quickly obtain a grade 3 wastewater license through reciprocity from Massachusetts, and would be available to help us until we can find someone full-time to fill the position.
So he's not a candidate for full-time necessarily.
No, he's looking for a retirement job.
And we can't use our facilities here at town hall. No, we don't have the kitchen.
Well, we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much all I had. There's some other items further along in the agenda that I'll chime into, but
Well, we also need, we have Emily and Steve here. There's an assessing item that we just need to brief you on. We don't need a decision necessarily today. It relates to the exemption that the select board approved under RSA 7281 for tax incentive, which we granted several years ago to the resort for improvements that were made up, I believe it was at the Base Lodge. So Steve and Emily are here to answer any questions that you might have. The amount, yes, Steve, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon. Emily Goldstein is here with me. She's looked at this in detail, so I'm going to ask her to take the lead on this discussion.
Sure. So I'll give you a brief background that Mark was just getting into. There was a small amount that was approved initially for the resort for this exemption. And when that was done, the total amount of the improvements were not picked up for the assessment at that time. And that was unknown to us until our cyclical visit to the resort, where we did pick up additional area that was done as part of that base update, which was what they had applied the exemption for. So in looking at the value change from 2021 to 2022, the bulk of that value is actually due to picking up what was done for that expansion, along with that application for the exemption.
So the amount that was exempted prior or by vote of the select board was $38,000. Okay, what we did for this tax billing, because we found this basically after the tax billing, after the MS1 was approved by you. It increased that $38,000 to the $101,000 because we had only picked up a portion of the improvements that were made, okay, in our records. So we adjusted the amount by the percentage increase that the total parcel had gone up, which moved it from 38,000 to 43,000. The rest of it, the decision, whether you want to make that today or you want to consider it and make it at another meeting, the difference between the 101 that Emily noted in her email and the 48 can be granted as an abatement this year. And then we will change the agreement and modify the total amount of the exemption for the balance of the years. Okay, through the rest of the 10-year period.
Consider that best option.
I think that's the best option going forward.
What was the exemption for?
The exemption is a tax incentive program under that RSA that allows the select board to an exemption on improvements that are made to the property. Okay, and you can exempt the local education and the town portions of the tax rate for a set period, which prior board has set at 10 years in this case.
And it's only on the amount.
It's only on the amount of the improvements that we didn't capture the entire amount when the board set it, until Emily noticed it as part of the revamp process.
So the difference is, you're talking about valuation.
New
not-
valuation.
Not tax amount.
Correct.
That's the
It's
valuation.
based on the new valuation. So it fluctuates with changes in the tax.
So, okay. So if the tax rate's $10, and you make an adjustment of $70,000 to the valuation,
They get $70 in
$7,000.
or 7,000 in.
$7,000. So we're just ratifying something that's really already been done.
Well, it's been done, but it was done at an incorrect amount, and so we would need a vote by the board to correct the amount. Because we didn't capture the whole improvement.
Is there more to come, or is that?
No, this would be it. Unless they come in with another, like they're making improvements now, they could submit another under the same program, but it would be for a new value, and it would be a separate application. This is just correcting the value, the application, the exemption that's been approved. Is it?
And just to put it into context, the $70,000 abatement of tax value is $700 in taxes at a full rate.
That's correct. Yes, Steve.
Right.
Okay.
So we need a motion.
If you're willing, I'm sorry to spring this on you, but if you want to make the decision now, we can make it.
So we do it as an abatement. So how we-
You would see actually a two-part motion. It would be to correct the amount to the $101,800 instead of 38,000. Yeah, the 38,400. And so you would be changing that amount, and then you would be granting an abatement for 2022 of the difference. So we'll do the calculation.
So it's a fairly small project.
It is, it was.
The fact was $100,000 project.
Well, it may have cost them more than 100,000, but it resulted in a change in the valuation.
I'll make a motion to accept this.
As so described by Mark. I would second that motion. Do I have a vote? All in favor? Aye.
I still have a question.
Okay, let's continue the discussion.
The 2018 assessed value of the building was 160,800, 219, 1,685, 100. Are we saying that all of that is due to the improvement of the building?
I guess that would be for you, Emily, or Steve.
So we can surmise, but neither Emily or I can answer what the 2018 assessment represented, because we weren't conducting the valuations at that point. But I believe that was for the building in its entirety.
Right, so do the improvements that were made? I don't know how to say this. We're coming up with a 50%. Where is the 101.8 coming from? I guess that would help answer the question. If the
Sure.
difference assessed value is only 76.8,
Right.
where's the 101.8 coming from?
So when we inspected the building and corrected the physical description of the property for the actual building that's there now, after the renovation and addition for the new beer hall to the rear principally, that reflects the changed assessed value. We can't see what the original calculation was for the impact of the exemption because the sketch hadn't been updated to reflect that new addition. So that's,
All of the commercial properties in town had some increase in value that was not necessarily related to renovation.
Right,
correct.
That's right, but they found that the sketch was not correct. That we have in there is the way I understand it, Stephen, I believe. And when, instead of the 76.8 that we attributed to the improvement,
right?
to the renovation. What I think Emily is saying is that it should have been the 101.8. So it's really the difference between those two that we're talking about.
That's the 38.
Sounds like what Margaret's asking is, it's a different valuation from 3 years ago to now. That may or may not be attributable to this the renovation.
That's
It's a
kind of
diff-
what I'm saying.
It's a
because-
different assessment
Yeah,
by
but-
different people.
right, but we're only supposed to be dealing with how much was the renovation.
I mean, they put 600,000 or $1 million or something into that renovation, right?
Right.
So well, with Margaret's asking, I think this, it sounds like it's an artificial. The 101 is an artificial number, which is based on the difference between two different appraisers or assessors over a 3 or 4 year period.
But it's not, well,
Maybe we need to.
I was
wait
gonna
till
say,
the
we
next
have
one.
until the.
you have, yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
so there was a motion and, but,
I would, I would,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that I don't understand exactly, I understand there's been a difference in evaluation of the property. But what we're supposed to be dealing with is, the difference, a renovation difference, I
Right.
think,
right.
not a difference in the valuation of the property.
Why don't we continue the discussion,
Okay.
doing a better
So-
understanding?
so Steve and Emily, Steve and I will give you a call. And we'll review the information again. And come up with another explanation and kind of lay it out.
So,
Before you-
so if we say no, we don't want to change it, stay. What impact does that have, other than $700 to the?
There's no, you wouldn't need an abatement or anything. We gave them we adjusted it just by the percentage increase. Which is the revaluation piece, because you've got to use current values. You can't just keep it at the 38,000. You've got to modify the 38,000.
Right.
Which we did up as a percentage for this last tax bill. So there should be no difference.
I mean, I watched Antiques Roadshow and they have the up and downs, shows where in 2004, the value was this, and
Yeah,
then in 2022, the value is this, and my wife always thinks that the value's gone down over the last 18 years, and I always say, well, maybe the first appraiser got it wrong. You know,
Well,
It's,
yes, and that's
it's
what we're
funny.
hoping.
My wife and I have the same discussion on our couch.
I'm always right. I guess.
So we'll put it down in the, we'll prepare you another information sheet.
Right.
And we'll lay it out for them.
Okay.
A related question, I'm sorry, Dan. No, I see you have a list for, veteran, war service. What has that,
We modified by one person.
right, what are the requirements now? Or the, conditions that allow one to claim?
They have to complete the application and they have to show their war service for a period of time and be a resident. Steve, Emily, what else am I missing there? Those are the primary things, and there's more little pieces in there. They can't transfer, it stays with the property for the following year after a sale or within that next year.
Yeah, I'm just
We
wondering,
have to
Yeah.
change it as of April.
20 events.
I don't have the application yet.
I'm just not sure that everyone, that all the new people coming know that they can claim this particular.
Oh, okay.
Exemption.
So yes, if anyone does feel that they might qualify for it, they should call us. We have an application form which lays out all of the requirements.
And it's right on the website
And
too.
it's on the website.
Yeah. The form.
And it's still time to apply it for.
Not for this
Not
current
for
year.
22, because that would have been April.
Yeah.
Right.
Of April 1 of 22. right. They would-
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
So-
guys.
Thank you, and we'll be in touch.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Thanks.
So, okay, let's go back to our department head. That's quite all right, reports, Brooke?
So the corporate pond is now past the testing, which village has, yeah, helped out with, and so that's great. Because we have the plunge coming up, and so the signs have been removed, and that's a great thing for everyone.
Will be that be the end of the testing for the year?
Yes.
Very good.
Good
answer.
Yeah, into the wind.
Our Halloween event is coming up this weekend. We have our costume contest we coordinated with the resort, and we have our costume contest where they will receive a map after our activities, and then they'll go through the trick or treating, and then there's a big activities in town square at the end. So that's all coordinated, and we're excited and ready for that. Yeah.
The kids are walking.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But somebody said, well, when the bus comes, I said, there's.
We grew out of those buses years ago. Yeah.
So where do they treat?
So there's a map, we've invited community members that are sort of along the route to sign up as a trick or treating stuff, and some condo associations are getting together like Sunnyside, I mean, there's lots of different ones on the map. And they're listed really neatly, and it's just a really nice professional marketing map that they've done, it's great. And it will list
That
all.
was Resort Association, right?
Yes, exactly, the Resort Association did that. And it's just all along the way, there's I think about 15 stops along the way, and then in town square, there's a trunk or treat, which is separate of the trick or treat. And that's for people who aren't not along the way, but they still want to like dress up and give out candy. So they'll come to town square, some people are doing sort of a themed thing, I know, and it should be a lot of fun.
And that's in the town square parking lot.
No.
I think they just go right up into town square.
Right into
Right
town
over.
square.
Now that the organization of that is not mine. That's the town square resort.
What's the date of this?
It's all happening this Saturday. So it starts at 3:45 at the rec department. And you have to register for the costume contest. Right now, we have 65 kids signed up for that. And then we expect to have at least 100. And then the other stuff. So it's nice because if you remember last year, there's a bit of confusion and there were some parents that wanted to get involved, but this is a way that everyone can get involved.
Is the map up in the rec department website?
We're still waiting to finalize it till tomorrow because people are still sort of calling and wanting to get on board. So that we will send out the map tomorrow. We will make it available online as well as giving out physical maps to parents and kids at our event. Let's see, the boat dock. Today, the Public Works guys were nice enough to come out and take the dock out, which is great. We have received a delivery date from the shed. Shed will be delivered on November 3rd, Thursday, which is great. We've arranged all of that to happen and we're expecting between 9 and 11 a.m. on Thursday.
This is shit on.
We'll be putting it on cinder block.
And then you move the boats right into it.
Right, so right now it's weird because we had such a beautiful weekend, we keep getting calls. Yeah, whenever the boat's opening, so. I didn't really think that through, I didn't really think it would be such a nice weekends, but. So anyway, we're gonna be moving all boats from the racks into the boathouse.
Just have to look for the crane. How do
No,
how do you
oh,
get on?
Ramp truck.
it's just on a truck.
Yeah. It's on a ramp truck for a better, just like a bigger one than what would pick up your car on the side of the road.
It's a 34-foot bed. And at Jim's suggestion, because they want to know if they need all the special equipment to get it into the location and stuff, I just did a video of the path and they said, oh, we'll be fine, so. Sounds like we're all good, and we'll see, hopefully. Sorry, but I feel good about this, so, anyway, we'll see. Yeah, so moving on, if there aren't any other questions about the shed. Sorry, next weekend, November 5th and 6th, we have the solo first, wilderness first day happening. This is the WVAIA's class, so we are letting them use our space at a very small fee, because we have to close all of our programs, of course, and then that will be happening all day Saturday and Sunday. And then looking ahead, we have our Thanksgiving weekend, which will be pretty busy. We have activities from the Friday after through Sunday. More details on that to come. And I think that's it.
Now, I understand the school board voted to approve the creation of a basketball
That is correct.
team, and I take it you coordinated the use of the gym.
Yep, so they will have their first ever basketball team. As I understand it, it's a co-ed team. And I have worked with Lindsay to figure out some times that they can use the gym after school. Where we will be shuffling around a couple of our kids for after school program, but it won't interfere with pickleball, so that'll be great. And then that goes to, I think, mid-January, so. I'm excited.
Coaches the basketball team.
I believe Kim Rawson is going to be coaching it. She's quite a talented basketball player herself. And she always likes to play with her. And maybe, I don't know if this is true, but maybe Mr. Kitts will help out. He's doing just playing. But should be good. And I think we're hosting at least 2 games. So I think that's a big problem with the scoreboard because we've never needed that. Even though I get representatives calling me every year wanting to sell them to me. So we've never needed those before. So. Yeah, I think that's what they are going to be. It's like they did for soccer. It should be fun.
And those games have been coordinated too. with
Yeah,
the
Lindsay,
department program.
Yep, Lindsay coordinates all those. She came and talked to me there was, I think, one day that fell outside of what we had arranged and we can easily make that happen in January, so. I think it's gonna work out.
All right, anything else?
I don't think I can think of right now.
David,
Not a lot. To report, I was on vacation last week and, pretty mellow week. Chris covered me, for most of the building inspection, code enforcement stuff. Mentioned the Gopher grant, we did get paid for that grant. We also, did receive our, wildland, which, clothing grant, which was a 50/50 match. It was, we did get that grant back, so we'll be making those purchases here pretty soon for, I think it's 9 sets of forestry gear for the staff that doesn't have it. EMT is going good. Cody's got about another month in firefighter 1. The ambulance will be out of town for breaks on Monday. Hopefully it'll be done just a day. Well, 7, 8 years we've had it. This is the first time we did break. So been pretty good. But other than that, nothing else to report.
And I
We'll
think
be-
Patrick's side.
No, nothing. Oh, actually, we do have one thing, kind of a reverse trick or treat National Drug Take Back Day. We'll be here on Saturday, so 10 to 2. So please come by and drop off your.
Can't trade.
I give
Yeah, it's great.
not trade.
Not taking
Monday.
it out, it's a one-way trade.
Your any unused prescriptions, we'll take them that day. To be destroyed. So the office will be open here on Saturday from 10 to 2.
10 to up at,
Right at the front office.
in the office.
Yeah. Yep, we'll have the front office open and we'll have the drop off. No questions asked, come in, drop them off into the bin. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me move to calendar review. So our next regular school board meeting is the 9th at 3 p.m. What did I say? School board, select board meeting on the 9th, and the reason I'm thinking school board is because the school board has asked to meet us at 2 o'clock on the 9th. A joint meeting for an hour to discuss primarily budget issues, in particular the CIP. They are putting their budget together and they wanted to have a better sense of what the town was looking at with regard to our capital improvement program. So if the board is available at 2 p.m. on the 9th instead of 3, we can start with a joint meeting and then roll into our regular meeting.
And go through if you.
That's what he's on. We're gonna already know.
And I think they were interested in having David at the meeting at 2 o'clock as well,
Oh, okay.
because of this issue of the cost of potential or the fire alarm upgrade at the school, and they wanted to have a better sense of what David thought about it. So 2 o'clock then on the 9th, a joint, and then our regular meeting.
Right, and then at the regular meeting, as we talked about, prior to, Joe Ducharme will be here to give you the treatment plant project update.
Right.
And the 60% zone review meeting that I mentioned in the memo, will be, everybody's available at 11:16 at 10 a.m. So that's it.
Planning board regular meeting, the 10th of November at 8 a.m. here. Now there's a strategic planning meeting that we need to have prior to budget discussions.
We just have not set that. We
Right.
talked about.
We talked about it, we haven't set
We've had
that
it sitting
for
on
the
the
date. Well, I know there was also, and I'm thinking perhaps we can combine. I think we wanted to meet with the chair of the Conservation Commission. And unfortunately, she's not available to meet with us on the 9th, but she's available the 1st or the 2nd. We could meet with her then and just follow that with a strategic planning meeting. I don't know what my schedule looks like. I'm just throwing that out there.
Why do we necessarily have to do a strategic planning meeting before the budget process?
Well, we do need an answer on the personnel guidance, number one. Number two was before I start talking to the planning board CIP subcommittee, I need your input on this as to whether or not you want us to
Change.
be changing any of this from your perspective in the out years. That, the first or second may be premature depending on
Okay.
the 60% design review.
Okay. That's
So
right, 'cause we're not
we
doing
may-
that till the 16th.
We were gonna wanna have that discussion before we start making
Okay, well then we need
decisions on the
to,
rest of the
okay,
CIP.
all right. Where our next visit, our next meeting after,
Well, we could do it on the 16th as a follow-on. I mean, we could,
I've got to leave on the, at noon on the, at the Lake
Yeah,
area,
that's-
it's on the 16th.
so we could do it, the next meeting is
The
the
23rd. We are scheduled for 3 o'clock, and that's the day before Thanksgiving.
And I won't be,
On the 23rd.
I leave on the 22nd, and back December 3rd.
Okay, so we probably should look at changing that. It's like, so we're really looking at, we're already meeting at 10 a.m. on the 16th of November.
Mark, the first and second should work though. We have that meeting tomorrow that we could use some of that information to form something.
We could do it after your. If you decide to meet with her on the 22nd. We could do it. Because it's not just the plant, it's like anything else you want us
Right.
to do as far as
Right.
roads and other facilities. There's a lot of stuff on here that's,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know whether we should update it or cut it out or add it or what you want us to do.
Well, if you're going to have a discussion with the engineers, what, tomorrow?
Yeah.
You think, you could see if you think you have enough to have a meeting on the 1st or the 2nd,
Either.
and we can do our strategic planning then. Do you have either of you have a
On the
issue with the
second-
1st or the 2nd?
The second works fine for me.
Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, I will not be available until about 2 o'clock. Until 2 o'clock? Until 2 or later. You're good after that? I'm good from 2 on. Okay. So I'll need at 2.
2:30.
2:30? Okay. So,
2:30 on the second.
all right. 2:30 on the 2nd.
And for department heads, that's, I mean, we are gonna be looking in the out years at the big ticket items. So we should have you here as well.
And
So
with-
why don't we say for department heads here at 3, because that may be do you want non-public review or?
It may slide into that, so let's just.
So let's say
leave-
3 o'clock
leave room open.
on the second. Okay,
Here,
here.
One meeting a week?
I'm sorry.
Let's not forget, schedule the election on the 8th.
Yes, and you guys, so yes, we did. Your times will be,
I'm fine with the way we handled it last time, if you guys want to do the same thing. This time around.
Yeah. So you're gonna be there the entire day.
I can.
So Bob's gonna take the first part and I'm gonna take the second part and then I'm gonna call you guys when you have to come in and sign.
Yes.
Well, last year we all covered. I mean, last,
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. I'll come back and something.
That works. All right. Okay, is there anything else on capital?
We just get together
Every day, it's getting that time of year.
I see Aaron's.
So our individual, department head meeting, way, which is still in February.
Yeah, mid-November.
Okay, we're not gonna schedule it.
Okay. Moving on, back to new business. I see I have a couple people here. Is there anything particularly you wanted to raise with the board? I don't want you to have to sit here for another hour or two.
I missed what I wanted to hear. I was
Okay.
in the classroom with the kids, but
But it was good news, so.
okay.
We've got some work to do, but it was good.
I also
Awesome.
introduced you as coach, and you guys called me.
That's right. And
Hey,
yeah, it's a passion of mine. I'm short, but I played in college. I always say that I'm short, but so I love, if you're short and you play basketball, you have to be kind of
Good.
well, I was not gonna, thank you.
Yeah. I can't wait to cheer for you. It's always pent up from high school.
Yeah.
Basketball games and cheering, and we've got all the cheers. And we'll teach.
We need, they won't know how to cheer, and they have really nice shooting shirts, so I think we'll win a game based on the shooting shirts alone.
Barry?
Landowner who's from had a concern about the roof pitch on Golden Heights. And the landowner may have showed up today, and I wanted to be here to hear the discussion. But if she's not here, that's what.
Okay, well, we still have time in the meeting. She may show, so we'll just continue
That's the
rolling
reason
on.
I'm here, other than
Okay.
I think the discussion so far has been great.
Thank you, I guess. All right, then let's go back to new business, accept unanticipated revenues for the 2022 fiscal year.
So you've got a sheet in your packet. There were 3 sources of revenue that we could not use to lower the tax rate, but that we are going to be getting. So I put recommended actions for you, which you have the right under RSA 3195B. That you can accept the revenue and make it for a specific purpose. So there are 3 sources in here. We received additional highway block grant money this year from the state in the amount of $11,814. I would recommend that we reserve it to the highway repair account and not simply have it go to the general fund, but put it in there for road repairs. That's what the money is given to us by the state for.
Well, I just want to roll down one. Are you guys okay with them? So, I move that we use the unanticipated revenue from the additional highway block grant fund, the amount of $11,814.43. Reserve that to the highway repair account. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
And then in addition to the highway block grant, the state gave us a separate amount of money, $36,826 for bridge repair allotment. And also came from Department of Transportation money, but I am recommending that you reserve that for future bridge repairs. So we would create a capital account in that amount. That would be used for bridge repairs as we need to do them. The bridge out at Depot Camp. We know that the Forest Service will not spend any money on that bridge, and the bridge that needs some upgrades and repairs, so we could potentially use this money for that.
Okay.
But we don't have to, we can use it on the other bridge.
Could you also potentially use it for, if we ever made a
Oh, the pedestrian bridge.
Around,
for Copeland
around,
Pond.
around the pond.
I think if it is near the Valley Road Bridge, we probably could. This is intended for the repair and upkeep of our town bridges, but yeah, we could look at that.
So why did we get it?
The state had additional money from Department of Transportation as part of the federal funding. The that has just been voted in.
And it's not enough to reinstate a bridge across Snowsbrook.
We can do the footbridge. Now, unless we built the same kind of bridge that's behind Tower Square, it would be about this.
So we're gonna set up a new,
We would set up a
Capital
new capital account for
For this, for this.
36,000.
we don't have anything. but-
We do not have anything. right
We do
now.
not have a
Bridge-
bridge repair. Right.
Yeah.
So the
We will
motion,
call it bridge.
so the motion would be to create a capital reserve fund for, bridge repair.
Well, not capital reserve, that's a technical term,
Okay.
just a capital.
A capital account, for bridge repair projects in the amount of $36,826 even, the money coming from unanticipated revenues.
What kind of restrictions are on that? I mean, we have flexibility in how we spend it.
Bridge repair.
It just says bridge repair. That's really, we'll look on the state site to see if details.
I was wondering whether we could be more general than that, just to give us more flexibility in the future. Whether we're restricted to a strict definition of the bridge.
Well, we do that with a number of
If
funds.
you could make it contingent on the state guidelines for the use of the money in this particular motion, we'll make it as flexible as we can.
Yeah, that's what I think we should do.
Okay.
Make it flexible.
So, with that amendment to the motion, could I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, lastly,
And then we received a reimbursement of 7 or 7.5% of the public safety retirement payments that we made over the last year. It totaled $11,320. That I would recommend returning to the general fund balance because those are monies we've already spent. So we can then use in the future, you can use it to offset whatever you want to add. So that was not a dedicated reimbursement for any one particular price.
The public safety individuals who are participating in that retirement fund also get a reimbursement.
It was the town portion of the payments. Because remember, the town portion is used for administration of the retirement system. The individuals pay goes specifically to their area.
any further discussion?
Good.
All right, well, then I'll make a motion to, return to the general fund balance, the amount of $11,320, receiving unanticipated revenues from, state retirement reimbursement. Second, all in favor? Aye.
There is one more amount that I did not have for this list that we're checking into. It came from Health and Human Services. Which was $6,300 or something like that. I'll have it on the next agenda for you, but I believe it was a reimbursement that we utilized for the programming we did during the pandemic. We received additional monies and I'll get that exact amount for you, but we have one more amount that's coming.
Okay. Next on new business is existing capital program review. Do we want to do that?
Yeah, so it's very simple. It's just this is, so what I did was, if you look at our budget paperwork from last year, there's a column for 2022, right? And then it goes till 2028. I took that approved CIP, took off the 2022 column and shifted everything around. So it now, the program goes from 2023 to 2029. These are all exactly the same numbers that were in that previous plan. They don't reflect any changes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we need to do, because last meeting, Chief Payer told you about the changes to the cruiser costs. Okay, so obviously, if you go down to the vehicle section, the $16,000 a year for 3 years that we have currently budgeted for the cruiser replacement on the second page, that isn't enough. That amount is gonna have to change. And so we're gonna need to do that sort of changes to everything on here. And we're gonna have to have discussions about items like the community center meeting house, which was a placeholder. The amount in there for town DPS building, town hall and parking lots. These were all placeholder items that we had in the plan that we need to revisit, and how are we gonna approach going forward. I'd like to get your input on this before we go to the planning board with any other projects.
Isn't that what we're gonna talk about on
That is.
On the
So
second,
that,
right.
so that is just a description of this kind of work, and then we have, as an example, the $180,000 estimate from the engineers for the road engineering.
Yeah, I wondered,
So those are, that's not in here right now
Right.
because we didn't have it last. So what you're looking at here is just what we have.
You know, I think would be helpful to, just. In last year and maybe previous years to that, we've approved things like the road work that was supposed to be done this year.
Yeah.
It didn't get done.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see what projects have been approved by the town, but still haven't been spent.
So.
Maybe part of the $5 million for the treatment plan.
Exactly. So what we do, Bob, is we'll add one column here for you that shows you the current balances of what's previously been approved.
Right, let's hang out there.
And Steve's working on that. We just didn't have those numbers for you. Yeah. We'll get that before we have before we
Meeting
have
on
the
the second.
discussion on this.
Yeah, there's also the question with the change in interest rates, whether we should be buying things now. as
Well,
opposed to-
and that's what I would like to discuss with you and the department heads, because as an example of that cruiser, should we be just budgeting $53,000 one time, or should we be looking, because if we're gonna take a 3-year lease that has 6 or 7% interest now, that could be a lot more money than what we've done in the past. You know, and it's gonna take some work even beyond the second, but at least generally we know the direction you guys want us to go.
Right.
Because Dave's gonna have to update the new fire truck and the ambulance, and, you know, we've got dump trucks and backhoes and everything else in here that we're gonna need to take into consideration before we even talk about it.
Right. Okay, so we'll discuss it, at the next meeting, on the second. Very well.
Uh,
Well, we have a.
Maybe 1,000.
Public. So 3 o'clock for the department.
Yeah, 3 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, any further on that? You good? All right, let's move on to the 2022 Winter Lights Program. Now, I understand there's been some action on this at the Resort Association.
Yep, so Sean Ward has started this program. I think everyone really truly appreciates, and we get a lot of positive conversation and talk from the visitors. People wanting to get engaged on the bridge, the lights and everything. And Sean is going ahead with the project again this year, and he, I think, asks for funding from various groups, and he's asked the WVRA for some funding, and we didn't give him exactly the type of funding he wanted, but we did give him partial funding for what he asked. And then also, because we are interested in owning the lights instead of continuing to rent the lights, WVRA has offered to donate $5,000 to the town to buy lights. They will manage the storage of the lights, so that we can make sure that the property, the bridge in Town Square continues to have, be lit. So that's the goal of that money.
So concentrating on the bridge as opposed to all the other stuff that was around.
Well, all the other stuff is a part of Sean's bigger project. So this is just sort of, we're treating it separately, just because we want to make sure that this part happens, and we want to own the lights to make sure it happens in a year, because it was such a huge success. But the rest of the lights will be a part of Sean's bigger project. His project, I believe, cost over $30,000 to accomplish, maybe more, every winter, but he's been renting the lights. So, we're trying to work on, okay, what can we do? He asks the WVRA for money every year, which we have funded. However, this year, we just thought maybe we can be proactive and purchase those lights, so we're not.
Just for the bridge.
Just for the bridge, yeah, we're just doing this smaller portion right now, this year. And there was another amount that was given to his funding request for use of, another request that we've made is that he light the path to the tubing mill. So we're trying to kind of broaden what's going on in the WVRA, and we will continue to help.
There are 2 issues, as I understand it, that have been in the past anyway, with regard to the town and this project. One is our approval that we require every year for the use of town property, which includes the bridge and basically Brooklyn Pond, the beach. Those are the 2 areas, just taking those 2 areas. Oh, and the arena.
Oh, actually, not putting the lights on.
Putting the lights on there. So we would, I think, we'd like to know what Sean is gonna do in that regard, so we can decide,
Yeah,
the board, if we wanna grant approval for the use of town property. The second issue is we've also, I think, participated in financing this
I think we've given.
with 2,500, but I don't recall how much in the past.
now this was the WVRA's concern as well, and if I can just suggest that we treat these issues separately. This $5,000 is completely separate of the rest of the project. The $5,000 that the WVRA will be donating to the town to purchase lights really should be treated separately from Sean's project and his need to request permission to be on the beach or on the ice arena or in any other area. This is kind of a separate thing. Does that make sense?
Who should be putting the lights up on the bridge?
Well, Stacy Petivier from that manages the lodging aspect of the resort. They do a lot of their own lighting too as a part of this figure. And
That was an issue.
and they go through the same company as Sean to make all this happen. So, I think I've reached the end of where I can speak to this with certainty, but if there are more questions, we can answer those. The WVRA would be happy to, have this conversation, but I do think that these accepting the $5,000 is simply so that we have ownership of the lights rather than continuing to put in money into renting the lights every year.
How do we know 5,000 is the right number?
Because we have people there that, you know, that can speak to those costs.
And it does not involve the town having to install the lights every year.
Or store them, or maintain them.
Not to store them, yeah, not to, no, none of that.
So we,
If you would like, we could pose those exact questions and WBRI can give you some answers so that we are sure.
so who's in the store on the motor? I mean, we're gonna own them. but-
Yeah, the resort is going to store them. Apparently in the past, they have paid to store them elsewhere, but this year they're able to store them on the, I guess it takes a while. It's still getting part of property.
So we don't have a request from Sean right now for
It's-
the rest of it.
No.
Yeah. and
Well,
it's not-
you have an email from Sean.
Right.
That is, I want to do something very similar to the first year.
Right.
On the town property. I did not yet, I mean, I have that proposal, I think, in our files. But he did not provide me anything other than this evening, as far as what he wants to do on town meeting.
Other than it's gonna be the
It's
same
Gonna
as
be
last
the
year.
same as-
Yeah, and for clarity, Sean wasn't at the meeting that this was discussed. He was absent.
So,
So we can't get these two things confused.
Right.
That's,
exactly. So,
I think we need more information from Sean. Last year, they did not actually put lights up on the arena. They had
they
them,
have on the trees.
they had them on trees and other things along there. We just had the arena painted.
I think we want more information from Sean as far as the
I mean,
overall program is
I
concerned.
find the display in the town square is tacky. You know, during the day, it's plastic and at night it's not, it's
But
okay.
that's town square.
That's a different,
not-
what's an issue, I think.
and apparently he's, now I'm speaking to the Sean part of this, he has clearly stated this year he will be going back to the amber lights and not the white lights, which I think was the overall desire. I know that's only one part of it, but.
But
Again,
he didn't do the lights in town square.
no, that.
I think.
The resort does that, yeah.
And it was an issue with that in terms of lack of coordination and not working particularly.
So number one, you need more information from Sean.
Sean, right,
But for his,
right.
for the $5,000, do you want to accept the money that WBRA is offering? So that we can purchase as a town $5,000 worth of lights.
And guarantee to have the bridge lit every winter. That is. the
Even if there
goal.
was no other.
Yeah, that is
Even
the
if-
goal of this money is to secure the fact that no matter if Sean gets the money that he's requiring or requesting from others to make bigger projects happen, we are going to guarantee that one piece, which I think is very important to town square. So they are going to be responsible in offering to, you know, make sure that it's up and looks, I mean, it does a lot for them as well as the town. I think it's beautiful and I think we should,
And again, who puts them up?
that will be the town square, you know, what has offered to do that. So,
I'm curious, why involve the town?
because it's a town property.
Right,
So it just,
I understand
it
that.
just
but-
seemed like,
We can just get permission immediately.
Yeah, and then, they put up their lights.
And
But
lights
it's,
are rental every year.
Resort Association.
the Resort Association doesn't have, we're not the people that put this on, it's Sean. So we're trying to separate from that so that we can purchase. But you're saying, why does the Resort Association go and buy?
Just buy, yeah,
Gotta get them ready. So
would that be cleaner? I guess I'm just not.
Yeah, no,
understanding.
and that is something I could certainly, I think that the feeling was that because it was town land, it would just, be something that the town, that lights would be something the town would put on their
Mhm.
land. So maybe they thought that would take out one piece of it. Would you like me to bring that back and pose that question and others. Okay,
Yeah, just a little bit more clarity. I think too, we want to have more clarity, perhaps written down as to the maintenance and storage of these, the operational lines going forward. Where the town-
If they're gonna keep them.
well, just to say that they will. keep them.
Right.
No problem, I will do that. To get some more clarity on that.
Have we finished with the lights?
Well, I will go back to Sean and say.
Yeah. Oh, and on that, I think it's a really good idea as part of its project. And perhaps this could be contingent on town approval of this property, is that they do light that path. That part of the, but we'll be lighting that new path that goes into across Village Road and then comes out.
Well, the other, $5,000, so he requested 10,000, we took 5 to go towards the bridge and thing purchase, and we agreed to give him the other 5. It's long,
Contingent upon doing
yes,
that.
doing that, that was exactly our request, so we will see, we just made this vote on Tuesday, I'm not sure if it's been relayed to him, so I need to get that information. But that's exactly what we were hoping. We also talked at length about how it would be nice to see sort of a breakdown or an invoice of some sort to know what he would be offering. What exactly would he live? Is he going to do the ice arena? Is he going to do, what's the plan? And so that's what.
Yeah, I think that's what we're asking.
Yeah, that's what WBRA has been wanting too.
Jeff Webb pointed out to me that there's a bunch of. He said that Sean had bought these surplus streetlights, old fashioned streetlights, and he's got like, Jeff Webb said 50 of them. That are laying on the ground as you drive down towards the pizza place. And so
To like the walkways?
I don't know what his intention is. I guess I heard he had 50. If I heard right, of these old fashioned streetlights.
Yeah.
It have to get refurbished, and that's just what I heard.
Yeah, it would be nice to just talk to him and get some clarity on his project and what he's looking for. I mean, it is getting a bit late in the season.
Well,
For both the rental company and for us to know, so.
and I understand he's saying similar to the past, and under those conditions, he doesn't have to go to minor site plan review for the planning board, but if he's looking at something more extensive, then he would. So there are
Yeah,
a number of moving parts here,
definitely. And I think we
like
can
on the
all
plan.
agree that it was, well, maybe we can't, never mind, I can control that.
Okay. Are we now done with the list? Good? All right. So let's return to old business, which will be old business for many years. Some of this, the water line project update. I think you may have done some of that. Chuck.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'll just give you an update on work that will be work is started on the exterior renovations of Pump House 2. The general contractor will be back on Monday. He's scheduled to come back on Monday to finish the connection to Pump House 2. And also to run the electric to well 3, so that can be energized. And controls for the whole entire system should be on hand sometime next week. They have been delivered. The contractor just has to bring them up, the general contractor. And work will start on the controls as soon as everything is, all the electric has been run to well 3. And then there's interior work, both in renovation and in HVAC and in piping to be done inside Pump House 2. So we're getting close.
Can you remind me again, when do you think we'll be able to get well 3 back online, at least as a start, a test?
Hopefully, we'll know better on Monday or Tuesday, but hopefully by at least the end of the month. we'll push them to do, there's some testing, I did some flushing, there's some testing. And, you know, I just wouldn't want to tell you before Thanksgiving because I don't, it's not next Tuesday yet.
Understood.
So we'll know better
So
then,
you meant the end of November. When you said the end of the month.
the end of November.
Anything further on the
Next week.
the water line project? Anything further on that? We good? Okay.
Jim, are they gonna take out the barriers that they put up? You know, the
along the ground, you mean?
along the ground with the.
That's that is
stakes,
staked in.
You know,
The,
Oh, yeah, also, what, those are full of wood chips,
yeah,
okay? And all you do is you cut them, you take the cloth and you leave the wood chips. And then all the stakes get picked up. So that's part of, that's part of the final cleanup. And then there'll be a punch list generated. And then they'll be done.
all righty. Back to Dylan and the wastewater treatment project update. I guess we've said everything we can. You'll have your meeting tomorrow, and then we'll have more information to chew on after that. Okay. Coalition Communities 2.0.
Transfer. station,
Oh, did I?
and my, the agenda.
Oh, no, it is. It was under, right, it was under wastewater treatment.
So
project update.
we did get the email that I included in the packet from DES. They're working on the administrative order,
Right,
and whenever they finish their internal review, and legal review, they'll send it to us.
and everything is
It's,
now on track.
and the dewatering is taken care of, so that's not really the impact.
Okay. There's nothing else on that. Let's go to the coalition.
Yeah,
Community
so,
update.
we had our executive board meeting for the coalition. We're in the process of hiring a new lobbyist firm for the group. That is in progress and will be effective for the beginning of December. We are also already tracking legislation. So the current members of the legislature get to file intents to prepare bills, so they do it by title. It's called an LSR. They get to do that before the election. And as long as they are reelected, they will carry through that legislation submission for the beginning of the term in January next year. There are already 4 or 5 bills that will deal with education funding and the statewide education property tax. A couple of them are beneficial to our coalition and a couple of them are not. So we've already started tracking that. And there are 2 legal cases that are in the court system right now that both of them, one of them does away with the statewide education property tax, and the other one would, if the plaintiff succeeds, we would have to send our SWEP money to the state for redistribution. So again, one that can help us and one that can hurt us. So we are tracking those 2. I expect that those will be at trial by the middle of 2020. So the coalition is active and tracking those 2.
It's near the vote on the Constitution, have a constitutional convention,
There is,
and that failed miserably last time.
it did.
So is that the expectation that
It is very, who knows, I mean, the way the legislature.
Find out on the 8th.
Going, yeah, they will vote on the. 18th. So, yeah. we'll vote
Yeah, I
on
think
the
it's a ballot.
ballot item, but it did put on this with the, but those things, who knows?
I'm sorry, Miss, Mark and I had discussed this earlier, so I think I'm aware of all the information. Did you mention, some potential legal fees?
Not, right, the two lawsuits we may have to, as a coalition, if we want to be represented or participate in either one of those lawsuits. There may be a full commission, coalition meeting, to increase our fees, for legal.
Right, $400 or something. to be
Yeah, we
divided as
currently,
Coalition, $200.
a few hundred.
Yeah, that will change.
There may be another assessment depending on we're currently asking for legal advice on whether or not we need to participate.
Ask me to legal advice.
Yeah.
I need legal advice.
I know.
Let us know.
It is, it's a very.
All right. Give me the what, money. Okay, so, the 2022 final property tax warrants. Sound. On the sound.
That's the warrant.
This is the warrant.
This is the election warrant. I'm gonna sign to. I'm gonna run up and grab them.
Anyone received the bills yet, or are they in the mail?
There should be some.
Yeah. I'm gonna check my mail.
And then there's also, so there's two documents to sign, the warrant and then the warrant for the election, remember?
Right, we have to look through
So
that.
there's two things. we- So.
You don't find these.
Nice
Useful.
nice job with our pretty meeting people.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay, shall we then? Shall we now move on to? board-
Overlays and
Couple. Oh, is that so? I'm sorry, under correspondence, does anybody have any more concern or,
in one of our previous meetings, we talked about, changing, getting the plans, we would suggest changes to the temporary sign ordinance.
Yeah, we have that written down, they'll be taking that up on, the 10th, on November 10th. They're talking about, zoning amendments. That'll be in the beginning. They
They're
did
moving
not talk
political.
about it. They did not talk about.
At
it
last
the
time,
last
right.
meeting. So, well, they need to do that at the November meeting,
right,
about how to address.
I would address it, I think that, yeah.
I mean, we could, there's a discussion about, political signs by, zoning district being illegal. And
if you're treated differently, you know.
They are treated differently.
Yeah,
the way they are.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, could we just ban them from all districts?
I don't know if we can ban a political sign.
We would have to pass.
I think the idea is we have to ban all temporary signs.
All temporary.
Because we're not allowed to,
Political.
we're not allowed to single out political signs.
I thought we were not allowed to single them out by district.
No,
No, so.
well, yes, to that too, yes,
You have to treat political signs the same as all
other
other.
signs.
I don't believe that's true, but.
Well, there was a change, I mean, several years ago, Supreme Court decision changed that.
And you can no longer read a sign for content. Okay, all you can do is either ban them
All temporary.
all, of them, or you can set dimensions and the
The physical
materials that we use,
properties.
the physical properties.
Physical
of the sign.
properties and time, right,
And
of temporary, timing of temporary signs.
Right, but you have to apply those rules equally across the board. And you can't say like, you can't advertise or market cows or whatever, because you can't read the sign,
Right.
right? So it cannot have anything to do with the concept.
And so what had happened, Bob, is that several years ago, the planning board sponsored an amendment, a zoning amendment, to reflect this ruling from the Supreme Court. And as a part of that change in our zoning, in order to limit signs in LDR, we inadvertently created this, what is an illegal treatment of political signs by trying to regulate temporary signs by zoning district. So we created that problem. And we're still, I think the solution is simply to take political signs out of the zoning. I think that's how we would, and follow RSA 664, is it? I'm forgetting, something like that.
66417.
But the planning board will be taking that, I guess, in the 10th. But if you have any, as a recommender, if you have anything you want me to say, or document to give me, if you want to go yourself.
Very on the agenda ahead of time, we say, okay, we can go through the, and telling you, we say, the planning board meeting on whatever the date is.
They will,
Do they already know what you can do?
for Monday or Tuesday before that meeting, the agenda will be. set. So the meeting's on Thursday, so Monday or Tuesday of that week. When we expect the agenda.
I get it as a member, as a member on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it's
no. we-
Posted online, it's posted in the post office.
Just like ours.
Yeah.
So we can make sure.
Yeah, I can check
it.
Any other concerns?
I just have one question. I noticed there are a lot of trees marked with orange tape. It's on that little path that goes between the intersection of Stone Tower Lane and West Bridge, going down West Bridge, all the way to where High Country begins. That little path that people use. A lot of the trees on the
All on
slope
private,
side,
it's all on.
it's all on private, yeah, but that's not Davidson, right? That the top.
Including the
No,
map is on that.
yes.
Yes, Carlisle, I believe.
A lot.
I'm not quite sure where the boundary is between the old Carlisle place
That was
and
what I was-
Mr. Britton's
So
place.
they are in conversation.
Yeah.
David and the new owner of the Carlisle
Right,
are in conversation about cutting those
I see,
trees.
okay,
And David checked with me, I said, we don't have any town land here. So it's purely up to the land. What they want.
is that top there, is that David's or is that?
The top is Carlisle's, I think it goes
I'm not sure where the boundary is.
Where the boundary is?
Pretty
Okay.
much down, pretty low on the.
And there's no easement to anybody for that path to remain there. The new owners could potentially, if that's on their land, they could just shut it down. Okay, just want to get my.
There's no
straight.
easement in favor of the town
Right.
or. It's always. It's kind of just a.
Yeah, no, it's a very
Evolve
handy.
Uh,
Very handy.
Oh, it is. We used to walk probably on it all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then you can cut through,
I can-
but, yeah, well, or you can go by the Sanumis place and come out on Forward Patrick. But, all right, I just wanted to know in the background ask what's going on. Okay, anything else on board concerns and directives? So let us move to correspondence. Think we have a couple? Pieces of correspondence?
Like Harrison's request is the first one, for the Avatar system, provide you with backup info on
Yeah.
what it is, and it basically allows us to get assessing information online rather than having people follow. The price is in the packet on the last page
Mhm.
of the packet. It's about $670. Or so, $750.
He said $150.
Yeah, we got the actual quote from our guys, it's,
For the annual subscription.
Yeah, it'll provide more detail on the property card. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, but going in this direction, it'll give the blueprint in terms of square footage where we currently don't have square footage online.
So
Yeah, look at the footprint.
property
Yeah.
card That's attached to the tax map, it's rudimentary.
Homemade.
This would provide the full property record card
Mhm.
that you can get in the office
Mhm.
online.
The interior and
Would be
exterior
attached to the
measurements.
GIS,
Yes.
Have the interior and the
Yeah, the
exterior.
interior and exterior.
Yeah.
And attached to the
GIS
GIS,
So
when
it would
you
be
click
attached.
on,
That's both.
It would
it'll pull this up instead of saying.
get them, knit them all together.
Yeah, so right now, if you click on it, it'll give you some of the information.
Right.
It's very, it's very basic, yeah.
But it's very, so this would give anyone who wanted it all. of it.
Time saver.
It really is. We have a lot of requests coming in for tax cards from appraisers, realtors, people listing. It's yeah.
So I mean, it's a small amount of money, all things considered, I'd say, we'll have your focus.
Good.
All right,
Thank you.
so do we need a motion, or is this good enough?
Yeah, we'll do this, and we'll include it in the.
So I'll follow you.
So we'll start. now.
Okay, and the next is an email telling us that Department of Transportation.
Yeah, so
It's studying
that was
Mr. Blunt?
purely, that was out of the blue, from us. I'm gonna talk to this, person. I'm gonna have a meeting, telephonic meeting with them, next week. And, we're gonna, I'll find out what exactly they're looking at, but the idea is to do a corridor study, so they'll go the whole length of Brookline Road.
That'd be great.
And talk about what to do with the camping site and what to do with paving and
Or not.
drainage or not. Yeah, so it can't hurt if our number one priority in our public mitigation
Right.
plan. So, it would be great.
Yeah,
if it makes sense.
okay, yeah. Please let us know.
Yep.
All right, do we have anything else for public
Nope.
discussion at this point?
Nope.
Out of here.
All right.
All right,
thanks, Gary.
Barry.
Guys.
See you, Barry.
Thanks,
Hi,
Barry.
Barry.
Thanks for coming. All right, so could I have a motion to non-public or personnel discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Jim. You're welcome. Good night, everyone.
I'm gonna go.